The diner was nearly empty that night, the kind of quiet that hums after midnight when the world feels too tired to speak. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, reflecting off the rain-streaked windows. Behind the counter, a young waitress named Lily wiped down the last table, humming softly to fill the silence. That's when the door creaked open. A tall man stepped in, soaked from the rain. His leather jacket was worn, his beard thick, his boots heavy with mud. On the back of his vest, faded but clear, was the patch, Reaper's MC. The kind of patch that made most people look away. But Lily didn't flinch. She just offered a tired smile. "Kitchen's closing soon, but I can still get you coffee," she said. The man nodded once. "Coffee's fine." His voice was low, quiet, the kind that carried pain without trying to hide it. He took a seat at the corner booth, facing the window, saying nothing more. Lily poured a fresh cup, the steam curling between them as she set it down. "Long night?" she asked, trying to sound casual. He stared into the cup for a moment before answering. "Long life." She smiled softly, not pushing. "Well, this one's on the house. You look like you need it more than I do." He looked up, eyes dark and tired. "You don't even know me." "Don't need to," she said gently. "Everyone deserves a little warmth sometimes." For the first time, he smiled. Barely, but enough to show he'd forgotten what kindness felt like. He drank in silence while she finished cleaning, every so often glancing at her as though trying to memorize something he didn't quite understand. When she turned off the lights over the counter, she noticed his cup was empty, his seat now vacant. The only sound left was the soft rumble of a motorcycle fading down the wet highway. But then she saw it. Under the coffee cup lay a folded napkin. Inside it, a single $100 bill and a note written in rough, slanted handwriting. "For the coffee, and for seeing me when no one else does." Lily froze, her breath catching in her throat. Her eyes scanned the message again, her hand trembling slightly. That kind of money could pay her overdue rent, maybe even fix her car, but it was the words that broke her the most. She turned the napkin over and saw something else scribbled faintly on the back. "Be here tomorrow, 9 a.m. Her pulse quickened. She didn't know why, but something in her gut told her she'd better listen. The next morning, the rain had stopped, leaving the air crisp and quiet. Lily showed up early, long before opening, the napkin folded neatly in her apron pocket. She told herself it was probably nothing, maybe just a stranger passing through. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. At exactly 9, the sound came, low and distant at first, then louder, heavier, until the ground itself seemed to tremble. The cook poked his head out from the kitchen, frowning. What in the world? Then they saw it. A line of motorcycles. At least 20. Engines rumbling in perfect rhythm. They pulled into the parking lot like a thunderstorm made of chrome and leather. Every bike gleamed under the sunlight. Every rider wearing the same patch, Reaper's MC. At the front was the same man from the night before, the quiet one. He parked first, killed the engine, and for a second, the silence was louder than the roar had been. Lily stood frozen behind the counter as the door opened. He stepped in again, same jacket, same eyes, but this time his face wasn't tired. It was steady, determined. She swallowed hard. "You came back." He nodded once, slipping something from his jacket. "Told you I would." He set down a thick envelope on the counter. "That's for you." Her heart stuttered. "What is this?" He took a slow breath. "Last night, you gave me something I forgot existed, kindness. You didn't look at me like a monster. You saw a man. That coffee reminded me that maybe the world still has good people in it." Lily frowned, confused but touched. "You don't owe me anything." He smiled faintly. "That's the thing. Some debts aren't about owing. They're about honoring." She hesitated, then opened the envelope. Her eyes widened. Inside was a check, $5,000. Her knees nearly gave out. "What? Why, this can't be real." He looked down, hands in his pockets. "It is. I run a garage 2 towns over. Me and my brothers fix bikes, rebuild engines. Been doing it for years. Business is good, but I forgot what it meant to feel good, you know?" He nodded toward her. "You reminded me." Lily's voice shook. "Sir, I can't take this. I was just doing my job." He leaned forward slightly, his voice softer now. "That's what makes it worth it. You didn't do it for anything in return." Behind him, one of the bikers chuckled. "Boss ain't good at words, sweetheart, but he means it. You helped him more than you know." The quiet man turned to his crew. Boys, leave something for the lady. And before Lily could even react, every biker, all 20 of them, started pulling bills from their jackets, placing them in a pile on the counter. When they were done, it looked less like a tip and more like a small mountain. She stared, speechless. I don't know what to say. He smiled gently. Just promise me one thing. What's that? Don't stop being the kind of person who gives without expecting anything back. The world needs more of that. Lily stood frozen, her eyes darting between the pile of money and the faces of the men who had just changed her life. For a long moment, she couldn't find her voice. The cook peeked out from the kitchen again, his mouth hanging open. Lily, he whispered, that's more money than this diner makes in a week. She blinked, tears starting to gather in her eyes. Why would you do this for me? The leader, the quiet biker she'd served the night before, leaned on the counter, his voice steady but full of warmth. Because people like you keep the world from falling apart, he said. You don't wear a vest, you don't ride a Harley, but you fight the same fight we do, reminding folks that decency still exists. The biggest of the bikers grinned. He's right. You'd be surprised how far a cup of coffee can go, especially when it's given with heart. Lily pressed her hands to her mouth, trying not to cry. You have no idea what this means. My rent's behind, my car's dead. I didn't even know how I was going to get home tonight. The biker's eyes softened. Then now you do. She laughed through her tears. You'll make me cry. He smiled faintly. Cry if you need to. But don't cry because of struggle again. Cry because you remembered that good still wins sometimes. The other bikers began standing, their heavy boots thudding against the tile. One by one, they walked up to Lily, nodding or giving a small smile before heading toward the door. Some clapped her shoulder gently. One left behind a single red rose from his jacket pocket beside the coffee machine. Before the leader followed them out, he reached into his vest again and placed something small on the counter, a silver pendant shaped like a winged skull. Lily frowned. What's this? He smiled. Our mark. So if you ever find yourself in trouble again, anyone who wears this patch will know you're one of us. Her lip quivered. One of you. He nodded. Family isn't about blood, sweetheart. It's about who shows up when the world looks the other way. The bell above the door jingled as he walked out, followed by 20 roaring engines lighting up the morning like thunder on asphalt. Lily ran to the window, watching as the bikes rode off in formation, the road shimmering beneath them. The sound faded slowly, leaving behind nothing but the faint smell of exhaust and the glow of something that felt holy. She looked down at the silver pendant still warm in her palm, her reflection catching in its shine. And in that moment, she knew she wasn't invisible anymore. The diner felt different that evening, quieter, but full somehow, like the air itself remembered what had happened. Lily sat alone at the corner booth where the biker had once been, the silver pendant resting beside her coffee cup. She kept running her thumb over its edge, replaying every moment. The look in his eyes, the roar of the bikes, the kindness that felt too unreal to belong to the same world she'd been struggling in yesterday. When her manager finally walked in, he froze at the sight of the cash piled neatly on the counter. Lily, he said slowly, where did all this come from? You rob a bank. She laughed softly through the tears still clinging to her lashes. No, she whispered. The angels came for breakfast. He frowned. What angels? She smiled faintly, holding up the pendant so it caught the light. The kind that ride. Later, as the sun sank low over the empty road outside, Lily wrote a small note and pinned it to the wall beside the door where customers always passed. To the one who showed up when I least expected it. You didn't just leave a tip, you left proof that goodness still exists. I'll never forget it. She left the pendant hanging beside it, right above the words, thank you. And from that day on, something changed in the little diner. Truckers, travelers, bikers, everyone who walked in seemed to carry a little more gentleness, a little more respect. They'd heard the story. The waitress who gave a stranger coffee and got a miracle in return. Every morning, Lily would open the diner early and set an extra cup of coffee on the counter, just in case he ever came back. Sometimes, late at night, when the highway was quiet, she'd hear the distant rumble of motorcycles rolling through town. And she'd smile, whispering, ride safe, angels. Because some stories don't end. They keep riding, from one act of kindness to another, from one heart to the next. If this story touched you, share it. Somewhere out there, Someone's fighting battles in silence, waiting for a sign that good still exists. Be that sign. Because sometimes the smallest kindness, a warm cup, a soft smile, can change a life forever.